Eagles Entertainment.
Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro with you. And we've got some life. The Eagles getting ready for the Arizona Cardinals. Some good stuff here on our Eagles Insider Podcast. We're going to meet a player who you probably looked out on the field on your television on Sunday and said, who in the world is number 41 playing cornerback? Well, we have that answer for you here. His name is Kevon Seymour. And once upon a time, he was a draft pick by the Buffalo Bills in 2016. What's happened between then and now? Well, it's pretty extraordinary, really. The road that he has taken to reach this point is remarkable, and it certainly is a testament to somebody who doesn't want to give up on the game of football. We'll hear from him and Jim Schwartz about Seymour in just a bit. But let's begin with our weekly one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson, who's getting the Eagles ready for the Cardinals, and we'll get our first look at the Cardinals, of course, here in just a bit. But Doug Pederson saying that Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback. What does that mean for the offense moving forward? We kick off the Eagles Insider Podcast one-on-one with Coach Doug. It is time for our weekly one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson, presented by Wawa. Hello, everyone. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. And Doug, let's begin with this. Congratulations on a win. It had been a while, and I know it feels so good to get a win.
It does, Dave. Thank you. Thank you for having me on again. And it does. It feels good to win, to get in that W column. You know, I mean, these guys put in a lot of hard work during the week, coaches and players, and in preparation. And we've been close. We've been in a lot of these football games this season, but it was really good to finally finish a game and get a W.
Do you feel like with so many younger players, so many new combinations, that you kind of have to relearn how to finish games and how to win in the NFL?
You do, and it's a constant constant communication with these guys, you know, and every you know, we have a phrase, a saying around here that everything matters, and you know, every day is kind of a new day with these guys, and so we have to continue to sort of reiterate that with them, you know, that everything we do matters, and there has to be a sense of urgency, and you know, there's a new set of challenges each week, and they have to come prepared and obviously ready to practice each week and all of that. But you know, that falls more on us as coaches, as leaders, to really, you know, instill that into our players so that it becomes sort of second nature for them. And then when they become that older veteran player, that's where they can lead and lead by example.
Was Sunday's win over the Saints your definition of a complimentary win where every phase contributed to this one?
That's exactly right, Dave. You know, when we say complimentary football, I think the game Sunday it just epitomizes that, right? I mean, we had the takeaways on defense. We had 5 sacks on defense. Offense was able to capitalize on some of those turnovers and score. We had drives to score. You know, special teams, coverage units, things like that. You know, so that's complimentary football, and you know, we took care of the ball outside of the one, you know, turnover there late in the game, which we can't do. But yeah, that's exactly what I've been talking about and talked to the team about, you know, all season, being able to play that complimentary style of ball.
Doug, let's talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts and his performance. What did you see that was good? What did you see that he can build upon?
Well, the good was, you know, again, you know, outside of the one turnover, he really took care of the football. Didn't put the offense in any harm's way. Threw the ball away. No sacks. Was able to extend plays with his legs. Stayed on the field on third down, scrambles. You know, was very efficient in the passing game. Also in the run game. Just ran the offense. Was very, very efficient. Now, to us as coaches, we see it when we went through the tape. You know, there are some things that we can improve upon. We can improve upon, you know, the timing of his drop with the routes, right? We can improve on that. So timing and accuracy in the passing game, where his eyes are, you know, the progressions, the reads, things that kind of happen a little bit faster in game, you know, than they do in practice, and we can build upon that. Just overall, just execution, just be a little sharper, be a little crisper. I felt like we were a little slow coming out of the huddle, getting to the line of scrimmage, allowing Jalen time to really, you know, look at the defensive structure and all that. So there are some things there that we can clean up and definitely do better this week.
Doug, what is the chess match like? I mean, now the Cardinals are going to try to take away his mobility, and it's a move, counter move kind of league. So what goes on behind the scenes when you are anticipating those kind of moves from defenses in the future here, and to still give Jalen that freedom to get outside the pocket and have success if the opportunities are there?
Yeah, and one of the things that you got to keep in mind is their quarterback, and they've seen their quarterback now for the last couple of years, so their defensive coaches know how to scheme and design defenses to take away a mobile quarterback, and so yeah, it's going to be a cat and mouse game this week, and we've got to come up with a really good tight game plan that still allows Jalen Jalen to have the freedom and flexibility to do the things that he did this past Sunday, and then just allow him to sort of be freed up in the passing game as well. I thought one of the things we did well against New Orleans was we kept them off balance, and I think that's a key to any offensive structures. We run left when they think you're going to the right, or vice versa, and so we've got to be able to sustain that. And I think if you can do that, and then have the element of surprise play in there, like we had the reverse in there, and a couple of QB runs, and be able to do that, I think you can at least have success in games like that.
Why does a mobile quarterback put so much stress on a defense?
Because a lot of times they don't account for him. They think he's going to be, 7, 8, 9 yards deep in the pocket, and he's going to sit there and throw the football from the pocket. And, anytime you can create a passing lane and you got a quarterback that can push up in the pocket and then separate from there, it just stresses the defense. It stresses the coverage, especially if teams want to play man coverage, because all eyes are on the receivers and they're not on the quarterback. And so that's where some of the big plays, can really show up. And Jalen has a good feel, a lot like Carson. They have good feel for the pocket, right? When the pocket breaks down, they have an awareness to escape the pocket, and really put pressure on defenses. And sometimes the defense just doesn't account for that type of quarterback.
Doug, Jalen can't have success. Miles can't have success. Zach and Dallas can't have success unless the offensive line plays well. And there have been so many combinations up front this year. In the big picture, what are we learning about Jack Driscoll and Jordan Mailata and Herbig and some of these younger players? Do they have futures along the offensive line here? Do you think you can count on them in the big picture?
I think in the big picture you can, and we see improvement every time they go out and play a football game. I think you start with Jack Driscoll on the right side, and you think about his toughness and physicality. And this is go back to Week 1 Washington, okay, and that defensive end and that defensive front, that he had to go against in Week 1 as a rookie, and then fast forward all the way, to this game on Sunday where he's going against another, really good defensive front. So his growth process, he's a tough guy. He's smart. He's in position all the time, and he's gotten better over the course of the year. You go to the other side, and Jordan Mailata, same way. It necessarily wasn't pretty beginning of the year, but now he's getting more reps and he's getting comfortable, and it's still not perfect, but at least he's heading in the right direction, right? And he knows where to go, and he's covering up his man, getting Isaac back. That solidifies the offensive line with he and Kelsey, and Herbie over there, just keeps getting better as a guard, and he's a smart guy, physical guy, and really with young players, it's just a matter of just paying attention to detail, right? Focusing in, locking in practice, mentally, and then just cutting it loose on game day.
Speaking of defensive line, Jim Schwartz relies on this four-man front almost exclusively getting to the quarterback, and they are coming up big week after week. Please tell me about Javon Hargrave and the progress he's made. And I think people have to understand he missed the entire training camp and the first game of the regular season with an injury, and it took him a while, but we're seeing him really dominate up front.
Yeah, our defensive line is really probably the last month of this season here. This last month have really have done a nice job putting pressure on quarterbacks, creating tackles for loss with the run game. And then you take a guy like Javon, who we signed this offseason, and as you said, he's missed some time, but he's really now beginning to play and come into his own, understanding the structure and style of the defense. Had an excellent game, had 2 sacks the other day, had a really good game the other day. And just sort of, with him and Fletcher and Malik and those guys in there, and, now Raekwon Williams, a young player that's getting more snaps, they just get better with more time. And he's feeling good, he's feeling healthy, and really, hopefully now this next stretch of games, he can continue that success.
Doug, another individual player I want to talk about, Alex Singleton, was a very nice story. Long journey to get to the NFL, hung around here, bounced around, gets some big play in San Francisco, and now all of a sudden it's like double digits in tackles every single week. How is this happening? What are you seeing from Alex? I mean, he's a tackle machine. The football and him are together the entire game.
Yeah, Alex has been a bright spot. Obviously since Nate Gary went on IR, and he's filled in nicely there. He does a great job of just lining the defense up, getting the guys in the right position. He's usually technically in the right position most of the time, but he has been showing up. He's been showing up with quite a few tackles, and he does a nice job in space. He can fly around. Plus, he's playing special teams. And we ask a lot of our linebackers not only to play defense but also to play special teams, and Alex has been a big leader. He and I think about Duke Riley. Those two guys kind of have kind of not only led the defense, but I think led our special teams units. But Alex is solid. He's not like the biggest linebacker you're ever going to see, but he's for the most part he's in the right position to make plays.
Arizona on Sunday, Doug. What kind of football team do the Cardinals have?
It's a good team. They can be explosive on offense. They got an electric quarterback. The guy can run around and make plays. He's quick. He's agile. He's got a really big arm, and we know they got some skill and ability, on the perimeter. And then defensively, it's a group that kind of they're going to try to keep you off balance as well. They're going to try to disguise and give you multiple fronts and coverages and try to confuse. And then of course, we would expect them to, come after the quarterback a little bit and try to keep Jalen in the pocket and make him throw from the pocket. But it's a good team. They're heading in the right direction. Obviously, a playoff caliber team, having success this season, and we got to go on the road and put another good game plan together.
Speaking of the playoffs, it's still in your mind, right? Like all of a sudden, I think everybody's kind of caught on. Hey, there's still a chance here in the NFC East. That's something you've preached all along, right?
I'm going to continue to preach it until we're not. And we got to approach each game like it's a playoff game, and we just got to go 1-0 this week. And as cliche as that sounds, that's really what we got to do, because we can't look to next week and the following week. We got to be able to take care of business this week, but it starts in practice. You win the game. I truly believe you win the game in practice by the way you prepare, and the way you practice really sets you up for success on Sunday.
Head coach Doug Pederson, our weekly one-on-one presented by Wawa. Thanks so much, Doug. Good luck in Arizona. Beat the Cardinals.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, so Kevon Seymour, 6th-round draft pick out of USC, played in Buffalo in 2016, 15 games, 3 starts. Good stuff. Good, promising first year for him. Was traded, though, in September of 2017 to Carolina. Still, played 16 games, started 2 games, heavy rotation on special teams. Then all the injuries started to catch up. Both shoulders, labrum tears, full shoulder surgeries. And those recoveries take months and months and months. A wrist injury that just wouldn't go away. And so in 2018, Seymour spent the entire year on injured reserve for those Panthers. Crazy, right? 2019, went through training camp with the Panthers, was waived on September 1st, and then spent a year getting himself in shape. And by the way, has 3 children, young children, and a wife. But he's got a dream. Came from poverty, and he wants to be an NFL player. So he worked out for the Eagles just after Thanksgiving. And of course, the Eagles secondary depleted all year. The Eagles signed him to the practice squad and said, let's take a look at this player who's got good size at 6 feet, 185 pounds. 10 days later, wouldn't you know it, Seymour moved up from the practice squad to the active roster, playing in a game against the New Orleans Saints. And so that's where we'll pick up the story with Kevon Seymour, Eagles cornerback, number 41. He was on the field on Sunday. Before we talk to Kevon, let's talk to Jim Schwartz, Eagles defensive coordinator, who certainly understands how hard it is to get somebody ready to play with very little practice time, very little understanding of the system. But yet he did it on Sunday against the Saints, and the Eagles won the game. Avonte Maddox and Darius Slay both out at the cornerback position. So the Eagles needed Seymour to step up, and he did. Here is Jim Schwartz talking about Kevon Seymour, someone who's still on the active roster, someone you'll see on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals.
Key's not a rookie. You know, Key played a lot of football for Buffalo and has some experience. Haven't played much in the last couple of years. But, you know, he is I guess you'd say a young veteran that did have some experience. I think 2016 played a lot of football for Buffalo. You know, so in a lot of those guys, you're getting them up to speed on terminology, getting them back in there. You can plug those guys in. You know, sometimes rookies with no playing experience are, you know, a little bit different. But you know, Key came in and you know, we were actually like putting some stuff in on the sideline because it was by game situation. It's like, all right, we're going to need to do this, and he was sort of processing it in his own way on the sideline. I thought that Marquand did a really good job of communicating with him during the game, communicating back to me what we were comfortable with in the game plan, what he was comfortable with. But it wasn't just him. You know, Kayvon Wallace stepped in. Marcus Epps stepped in. Jalen Mills had to move to corner. You know, there was a lot of moving parts in those things. And like I said, we were playing a lot of zone. Generally, zone defenses take a lot of adjustments and calls and things like that. And for the most part, I thought those guys did a pretty good job. You know, Key probably had a little bit of a step up from those guys because he did have some experience. But he's got good size, and you know, like any corner, he gave up a touchdown pass. He didn't let that affect him at all. Came back and continued to battle and played physical football, and I was proud of him for that. As it was a great step for his career. You know, it's sort of been sidetracked a little bit, and to get back on the field and play winning football. You know, that's a real tip of the cap to him. Staying ready, keeping his faith through some tough times, and he was rewarded for that, and we were rewarded for that.
I had a chance to talk to Seymour on Tuesday, and we spoke for 30 minutes. He just could not stop talking about the journey that he's taken, a remarkable one, from really the lowest rung after 2 promising years in the NFL. Seymour has worked his way back to the field, and he couldn't be happier.
I just stay ready, you know, but at the same time, doing everything I can on special teams. And sure enough, you know, my brother Tay got hurt. You know, Maddox, Tay came out, and then so in nickel, you know, I was going in the game, and then you know, then Slay got hurt, and then so it was, you know, it just went from there. And then so during the game, I was just doing everything I can to be a factor and show these coaches and stuff like I do belong. You know, like I belong here. You know, I'm still that same player from back, you know, when I was playing before I had the time off. So, you know, we win a game, you know, feeling good and stuff. I'm just, you know, I'm out there, you know, making plays, making tackles. And the big thing for me was just to show them, like, look, you know, I'm healthy. You know, I can get in, I can get off blocks, I can make tackles, you know, I can still run, you know, and be the player that y'all, you know, see me being in the future. So after the game, man, I'm just driving home. You know, I'm talking to my wife and stuff, and she's telling me, like, I'm proud of you. You know, I'm talking to, you know, my twin brother and people back at home. They're like, man, the crazy thing is it looked like you haven't even missed a season. Like, you haven't missed a beat. Like, they told me, like, you look the part. So, and that was my main thing, just to go out there and prove, you know, earn the respect of my coaches and my players as well, you know, my teammates. So,
Kevon, you must be so proud of yourself.
I am, man. I came a long way. But like I said, I've been through a lot of ups and downs and stuff in adversity. So, didn't faze me. I just knew it was a point in time that I was gonna get this opportunity again. So it was just a matter of time, and it's a matter of being ready, and capitalizing. So I just stayed ready. God gave me another chance, to showcase my skills, and I took advantage of it, man. I took advantage of it.
With everything you've gone through, I mean, honestly, I would imagine a lot of guys might have given up on the dream. You didn't do that. Why not?
I wanted better. I wanted better. Like, so as a young kid growing up, I always wanted, I grew up, Section 8, projects and stuff, living like that. So I always told myself that I wasn't going to be a product of my environment. Like, I was going to make it out regardless, even if it wasn't going to be football. Even though I told myself, like, look, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to do this. I wanted to be, I wasn't going to let my upbringing or my situation define me or define my outcome and my path. So, and of course, I got 3 kids. I got a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old daughter, and a 9-month son. He's about to be 10 months. So I want better for my, I want to give my kids, and my wife, my family, the life that, I wanted growing up, and I just simply couldn't have. I had my mom growing up. She raised me, my twin brother and sisters alone. She always made sure we had everything we needed, whatever she can, give us and stuff. And it was, I talked to my dad every now and then, seen him probably only twice and stuff. And I just had a lot, man, I didn't want to prove. Now, I'm not so much of the type like, yeah, I'm going to prove my haters wrong and this and that and who don't believe in me, because I don't focus on that. I always focus on the positive. I want to prove the people that believe in me, I want to prove them right. Like, look, y'all believe in me, y'all feel like I can do it. Look, I can still do it. So the people that's believing in me and rooting for me, I want to prove them right. I want to put on for the last name on my jersey, my kids and my children, my wife. So that was my main goal. And like I said, at the end of the day, and earning the respect of my coaches, the owners, the GM and my teammates. Like, look, man, like, I'm going to be out here and I'm going to be out here working hard, trying to get this win with y'all. So, and then like,
okay,
and just, it was crazy when I was in Green Bay before I came up to Philly, like for a workout. My older brothers on my dad's side called me and told me like my dad died and stuff. So he died last month on the 15th, on November 15th. My birthday was just on the 30th of November. So I feel like that kind of inspired me too. Because it was just so much that I wanted to tell them and talk to them about, but just never really got a chance to. So I always, it's just little things along the way. So I feel like God used that tragedy right there just to give me an extra, push or motivation just to keep it going. So
great. It's a great story. Final question, and thanks for your time. What's next?
Oh yeah, no problem.
We got the Cardinals coming up here. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. So what's next for Kevon Seymour? I mean, number 41, Eagles fans now know who you are. Yeah. What is the next step in your journey?
Man, for me, so even the first day I signed, every week I prepare like I'm the starter, even if I'm not the starter. So before you call me and stuff early, today, my off day, I always prepare. Off days, I take care of my body, I recover, get back to 100% as close as I can, and I study. I study the team. So that way, when it's time for actual practice and to go in with the coaches, I kind of got to jump on them and understanding of what they like and what they like to do. So I'm just preparing so I can be the best, version of myself, the best version of Kevon Seymour on that field, so we can, come out victorious and come out with the win to make our fans happy, coaches and, and ourselves. Winning is always the top priority in the thing. So, every week, every day, I'm just trying to be better for myself, and I'm better for myself, I'm better for everybody around me, and that's rooting for me.
I think a lot of fans think it's easy to, once you make it in the NFL, to stay in the NFL. Your story is exactly the opposite of that. It is, your journey is a remarkable one. You don't take any of this for granted, do you?
Thank you. I do not at all. I loved all the hard times, and, the late nights and early mornings and stuff, and just waking up and not knowing where I'm gonna be next and stuff. So I don't take anything for granted. I always, every morning I wake up and I thank the Most High just for giving me the opportunity, and I attack every day like it's my last. So that's me.
Kevon, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Best of luck, man.
Man, thanks, Dave. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, I know you're meeting the media. I know you're meeting the media tomorrow, so enjoy every bit of it.
Oh, yep. Just whenever you want to talk questions, just give me a buzz. I'm here.
I appreciate it so much.
Man. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
No problem.
Take care.
Tired of searching for sports updates in different places? The Xfinity Sports Zone gives you the ultimate sports hub experience, where you can find games, news, and highlights all in one place right on your TV. Follow the teams you love across your favorite sports. You can even use the voice remote to access stats and scores. With the Xfinity Sports Zone, everybody wins. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store for details. Restrictions apply. Requires Xfinity TV service with X1.
And that is Kevon Seymour. Still not to be determined will be his role yet. We don't know if Darius Slay will play. He's in concussion protocol. Avonte Maddox will not play. The Eagles all banged up in the secondary with safety Rodney McLeod also out for this game. McLeod out for the season with a torn ACL. We'll speak to him in our tailgate edition of this Eagles Insider podcast on Friday. Now, the Eagles play the 7-6 Cardinals. So I wanted to catch up on a team that just several weeks ago, they kind of looked like they were shoo-ins for the playoffs. 3 straight losses changed that story. The Cardinals bouncing back on Sunday with a 26-7 win over the New York Giants. And from azcardinals.com, Darren Urban, longtime reporter covering the team, discussing Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, Darren. So I guess we start, of course, when you talk about the Eagles here and the Cardinals. You got to start at the quarterback position, 2 Oklahoma guys. Tell me about Kyler Murray year 2. How's he looked and how's he progressed, and what have defenses done successfully and unsuccessfully against him?
Well, I mean, he started the season really well. Obviously, he was kind of hit a peak with Hail Murray, and he was playing excellent football, as was this team. I mean, the Cardinals were number 1 in the league in total offense for a number of weeks with over 400 yards a game and scoring over 30 a number of times. And then they hit a wall for whatever reason. Now, it depends on who you talk to on what exactly happened. It happened to coincide when Kyler Murray got hit and got his right shoulder driven into the ground in Seattle. And that just happened to be the beginning of the first of a 3-game losing streak. And he didn't run as much in those games, and I do think that made a difference. Those teams also tended to mush rush him a little bit and play a little bit of zone, and that, I think, made it harder for Kyler overall, too. And then when they finally broke that losing streak against the Giants this past weekend, he was running more. And you just see how different this team is when he's running or he's a threat to run. And if teams play him to not run, I do think that the Cardinals are still working through the best ways to attack teams that way, but there's got to be something there because when he's not running, they do struggle offensively. And like I said, they're not quite where they were at the beginning of the year, but I do think Kyler Murray continues to learn this game, and I do think he's going to be a very good quarterback as we go along.
That's the interesting thing, Darren, because, look, I mean, I've been around for 1,000 years through the Randall days and the Michael Vick days and quarterbacks who were really, really mobile. And Carson has been mobile, but certainly more of his damage has come from the pocket. Now with Jalen Hurts, getting to know him and seeing what he did on Sunday against the Saints, it's interesting to watch how much damage a quarterback who can be that mobile, what he does to a defense when the defense is just not prepared for it. You're seeing that with Kyler. Has he developed a lot of skills from the pocket?
I think that is still a work in progress. I mean, one of the things that is easy to forget with Kyler Murray, because he was so famous when he was starting in Oklahoma, was that was his one full season beyond high school before he got to the NFL. I mean, he just didn't play a lot of football in college, and I do think that he's still learning a lot of things. But, I mean, it goes back to, what you were just saying about Jalen Hurts and how it changes some things. I mean, you've been around long enough. I've been around long enough. The game is changed And the aspect of a quarterback, whether it's Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts or Russell Wilson, these guys that can hurt you with their legs, it just scares the bejesus out of a defense a lot of the times. And when a team with one of those quarterbacks is able to find that balance of, okay, maybe he doesn't have to run all the time. Maybe he doesn't have to run maybe as much as, let's say, a Lamar Jackson, but the threat of it just is a problem. And like I said, I think the Cardinals are still trying to figure that out, but it'll help if Kyler Murray learns a little bit more about playing from the pocket. I know a lot of people want to talk about his size. I think that's something they can overcome with some of the things they do offensively. But, just like Kyler's learning the game, I mean, they've got a head coach who's also coached in the NFL only as long as Kyler's been in the NFL, and I think Cliff Kingsbury's learning some things as he goes too.
How's the running game been beyond Kyler Murray? How's the production been on a consistent basis from the backfield?
You know what? It's funny. For a good chunk of this year, they were one of the top 2 running teams in the league. Now, part of that, again, is what Kyler was giving them, when he's getting 50, 60, 70 yards a game. But, the Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds combo has been pretty good. They were really good down the stretch last year. They started good this year. They were averaging over 160 rushing yards a game total. And obviously that's not all Kyler. So they were doing a nice job. Now, again, when these defenses started to play Kyler at the run a little bit more, I think that also hurt the running backs. And they got back to it against the Giants a little bit more. Not only was Kyler running more, but they got a little bit more physical. They got a little bit more base, and we're just going to, use some off-tackle plays and get in the line of scrimmage and try and wear the other team down. And I do think it made a difference. And they ended up with, I think it was 159 yards of rushing last week, and that was with a bunch of kneel downs at the end of the game, so they were going to be over 160. Kenyon Drake had a solid game. Chase Edmonds, again, has been, I think, underrated in terms of his effectiveness, even though he's only touching the ball 10 or 12 times a game maybe. So they have a good setup there, but, again, they lost some of their consistency, and I think they're hoping that it's now back for good.
Darren, when I look at the wide receiver core, and I see DeAndre Hopkins, and I see Larry Fitzgerald, who's been so good against the Eagles for so long, so good against everybody for so long, and Christian Kirk, and understanding how banged up the Eagles secondary is, I go, how in the world are the Eagles going to stop this passing attack? What's it been like for defenses with that trio and the speed and the size and the versatility trying to match up with them?
Honestly, Dave, I thought it was going to be a little bit more effective, and especially of late, it just kind of faded. I mean, not only did the running game struggle, but the passing game struggled, and I don't know if it was how defenses were playing Kyler, if he just went through a slump looking and finding guys, but, DeAndre Hopkins had a couple games there where they weren't targeting him nearly as much as you would think they should. Fitz missed a couple of games because of COVID. And that, it took something away. And Christian Kirk has kind of disappeared a little bit too. And I think they need to get back to that. They can have a very, very effective passing attack. Their tight end, Dan Arnold, has come on. He doesn't get a ton of targets, but he seems to be a favorite of Kyler in some clutch situations. So he's a guy that he's looked at. Christian Kirk's had his moments again. Like I said, it hasn't been as much lately. I think they should use Fitz a little bit more, which they haven't. And again, him coming off COVID last week, I don't know if that's part of it, and I'll be interested to see if he's used a little bit more. But they have the kind of receiving depth that should be pretty good. And like you said, the Eagles have struggled a little bit there. Can they come up with a protection to make sure Kyler doesn't feel the pressure too much? Are the Eagles going to mush rush him, which is where the successful defenses have done? Or are they going to try and be a little bit more man-to-man? Or, does Kyler have the chance to get outside? I mean, again, I think this passing attack just completely changes when there's the threat of Kyler, if you're manning up on those receivers, and then all of a sudden he can run, and does it distract the defensive backs and all that stuff? So how the Eagles play them, I do think, is going to make an impact on how well the Cardinals can pass the ball.
Yeah, and the Eagles' strength for sure is that defensive line and attacking. So it would be interesting to see if they mush rush. They rely so much on the four-man pass rush. How about the Cardinals defense? We know about the Giants game, dominant performance. Hassan Riddick, our Temple boy, having a big game, having a huge game. How good is the Arizona defense?
The Arizona defense has been better than I thought it was going to be. I came into the season thinking, okay, this is a team built around their offense. If their offense plays like it's capable, they just need an average defense and they can be a playoff team. Well, the offense has been pretty good most of the season, had the slump we talked about. Defensively, they've had their moments. They struggled against a couple of times, but they've also lost a bunch of people. Their defensive line has been ripped by injury almost all season, and yet they've been able to figure out ways to do it. I think Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator, took a lot of slings and arrows last year, and I understood it even though he didn't have the personnel he needed. I think he's done a fabulous job, and if you look at the analytics and Football Outsiders, they're a top 10 defense right now. And I think that's much better than anybody expected. I mean, they're not the Steelers when the Steelers are at full strength, but they've been better than expected. And I'm very curious to see how they handled Jalen Hurts, because there's obviously a mobile quarterback, much more mobile than Daniel Jones was last week. And then the last time they faced a rookie QB, Tua did a pretty good job, and they've got to play better than that. But I think they've found some things. Their secondary is playing pretty well right now. I think since Chandler Jones got hurt, they've done a nice job with the collective effort on the pass rush. Hassan Reddick has been a godsend considering where he's been through his career as he's played this season. And I think they're hoping they can do some things to make Jalen Hurts uncomfortable, and we'll see if that's possible.
And then finally, Darren, I mean, you're 7-6 now, 3 straight losses, and then you beat the Giants. Is this a playoff team?
They can be. They're going to have to play better on offense than they did even last week when they played a little bit better. They've got to get better on offense. And you're hoping they could find some of the groove that they were in earlier in the year. I don't know if they can play much better on defense than they are. I thought coming into this year, this was a team that could win 8 or 9 games. They still have a chance to win 10. I don't know if they will, but even if they go 3-1 down the stretch in some way, shape, or form, or I guess 2-1 at this point, they can win 9 games. That might be good enough to get into the playoffs as that extra seed that they have this year, the new 7th team. So, I think it's very possible they can be a playoff team. And I also think they're one of those teams that I don't know if anybody particularly wants to play them in any one given day in a playoff game, because I could see them doing something and having an upset. I don't know if they're going to make a deep run, but this is a team that's trying to figure some stuff out, and they only won 5 games last year, so I already think they've made big strides.
Darren, thank you so much, man.
All right, Dave, thanks for having me.
And that will do it on this Eagles Insider podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Thanks to Peter Kelly, Ray Doyle, and Trevor Hayes for their work here. Thanks to all of you for joining us each and every week on the podcast, each and every episode. We've been rolling this year, 3 podcasts every week. Thank you so much for your time and patience and understanding and love of the Philadelphia Eagles. If you have a chance to give us a review, please do so. The link is included in the show details in the podcast library. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Thanks for joining me, everyone, on this Eagles Insider podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Raise a glass to that comforting feeling of an Eagles touchdown with the all-new Broad & Pattison wine collection created in partnership with Wink, featuring a Cabernet, a Rosé, and a Chardonnay. Broad & Pattison wines are the perfect pairing for any occasion. Now you can bring this sweet taste of victory with you to a dinner with friends or to the tailgate with your game day crew. Purchase online today at philadelphiaeagles.com/wine to stock up and have Broad & Pattison delivered right to your door. A portion of proceeds from every bottle benefit Eagles Autism Foundation.